Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to provide you an in-depth tutorial on how to navigate our Classroom Companion app for accelerated learning. This app allows students to study outside of the classroom on all digital devices for online and offline use. So let's jump in. There's two versions of the app. Both are free. The mobile version has tabs. The desktop version, which you see here, has a triptych display that tells us everything that we need to know for accelerated learning. I'll begin on the far left side of the screen. As you can see, our sources are integrated, whether it be a video link or a textbook. I'm going to go ahead and click on one of those links, and you can instantly access the textbook for learning. AI will provide a summary of that text, and below that are templates that students can click on to instantly take them to that specific section. This will open up a window in the middle of the screen that will allow students to use citations that are already built in to the middle section. And all of these numbers here that I'm hovering my mouse over, if I click on them, it will bring up that specific section on the far left side of the window. If I return to sources, I can utilize the internet to search for anything related to our course materials, or I can disable the internet and only focus on our sources, and I can use fast research. So let's say I want to learn more about directing. I'm going to go ahead and search, and it's instantly going to find me the specific citations and sources for what I'm looking for. I can also import my questions and research into my Notes app or my Obsidian app. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this window, and I already have a prompt here. I'm going to click on that, and it functions like any large language model. And the real difference is the responses are going to be consolidated and only focus on our text. And I can also save each response to my digital notebook. I can copy it, and I can rate the responses. I can continue with clicking one of the following if my questions pertain to a subject I want an elaboration on that question. Next, we have the Studio section on the right-hand side of the screen. The Studio section allows students to not only view and hear the course material, but they can download all of these sources for offline use. If students want to study, we have flashcards. Returning to the Studio, students can also access a glossary of terms. And then, of course, we have practice quizzes. I can rate each of the questions. And if I get a question wrong, below that, I can click on the Explain section. And what this will do is it will explain why this specific question was wrong and what the right answer is from our source materials. If I return to the Studio once again, we have podcasts, and each of these podcasts are interactive. So if I press interactive mode, I can enter into the podcasts pertaining to the subject of interest. And then there's a join option.
Dark theater, the screen lights up and the music swells.
Oh yeah, the anticipation.
Right, there's this immediate, almost bylaw.
Oh hey, I think our listeners got something to say.
Hey, can you tell me about directing, but summarize it in 3 sentences and tell me the raw truth about what it's like to be in that role?
That is a phenomenal question, and we love that you jumped in right there.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of curiosity this conversation is for.
To give you the raw truth about being a director, here is the core reality.
It is the most intensely labor-intensive job, both mentally and physically, in the industry.
You must be the anchor of the set, maintaining a singular vision while constantly solving unexpected problems.
And finally, you have to learn how to deal with rejection, because one project creates success, but only your ideas sustain a career.
What's fascinating here is that the vision you hold is an illusion. Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so that's all great about directing, but tell me more about how I can use lighting and cinematography, and tell it to me in 2 sentences.
Okay, we could definitely distill that down for you. That is a great question to pivot with.
We can do lighting and cinematography in 2 sentences. Absolutely.
Here's the core truth about how those tools work.
Lighting and framing are used to shape light, eliciting mood and conveying a character's emotion to the audience.
And as the cinematographer, you should use deductive reasoning to rely on minimal gear to execute the story efficiently.
That really gets to the heart of the matter.
It's all about efficiency and emotional impact.
What's fascinating here is
Okay, I can exit out of the podcast at any time. I can also access an infographic that tells me a summarization of what we're studying throughout the semester in one chart. I'm going to go ahead and exit out here. And then I can click right here that says Cinematic Blueprint, and it's going to bring up a mind map. And if a student wants to study a specific section in the mind map, they can click on one of the following, and they can continue clicking on the arrows to expand that way of learning. Once they click on one of the subjects in the mind maps, the middle section will open, and it will allow us to view that response. So I find that Classroom Companion greatly benefits students, not only for accelerated learning, but it targets various forms of learning that not all students share. I, for one, am a visual learner, but some students can be an auditory learner. Others might have an ability or disability that might be hidden or unrecognizable to the instructor in the beginning of the semester, and some students might fall behind. And usually when that happens, it can be difficult to have them catch up as the semester progresses. So with this app, it targets all forms of learning. And I find that even if a student is unprepared for the day, there is always another way of accessing all of our integrated course materials so that they can catch up. And even if a student's native language or preferred language is in English, the app can automatically change into the language of their interests. And I find with this form of learning outside of the classroom, they are constantly having access to studying course materials. When it comes to in-person film production, it's all about the production environment and physically getting involved with our production tools. But outside the classroom, we might think more about theory, and that could be applied to our next session when it comes to production. So with all of these forms of learning, I find that both of our Classroom Companion apps could really help a student grow in their academic endeavors. All right, that concludes this tutorial on Classroom Companion app. Have a great day, everyone, and stay safe.